The middle of the pitch is usually, not always, but usually where the game is won or lost. Just like the middle of a chessboard, you control the center of the pitch or the field, and then you expose the opponent's weaknesses. Is this a coaching issue? Yes. I'm not saying it's not. Yes, it is a coaching issue. But also no, because the players still have to make the decision in the end. The coach should be sitting down with the player and going, hey man, sometimes you make dumbass decisions when you have the ball in this area, in this circumstance. When that stupid decision pops in your head, I need you to realize, wait a minute, oh no, that's not the right thing to do. They're already, well, at least the stories are that we're already planning for next January and we're planning for the summer. So it's obvious that there are glaring gaps to these guys in charge that were not filled this last summer. This is why we got the man. He's our CEO because the guy is supposed to be this marketing genius, the guy who helped Barcelona raise their revenues, the guy who helped Manchester City figure out ways to legally raise their revenues. Yeah, I said it. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another video. Thank you for clicking on this video. Thank you for joining me one more time. We had some really good support from the last video. I had some fantastic comments, things that really motivate me to keep going, give me the energy to make another video, even though we're sitting here in the middle of an international break week, so we haven't had a game this weekend. But I still have a lot to say. I went back and watched the Brighton game, the second game of the season. I thought of some more things that I didn't mention in the last video that I want to talk about tactically or about football and what I see. And then also I want to talk about the structure of the Manchester United, like the Ineos relationship and what they need to do moving forward. That's going to be a little bit different than what you've been hearing on other videos because I pretty much keep up. I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of Manchester United YouTube. That's really why I started this channel to begin with, because I felt like there were things I wanted to say that I'm not really hearing, or maybe opinions that I have that I'm not really also hearing. Now, again, I always say this, you may agree with me, you may not agree with me, leave it in the comments below. I try to read every single comment and reply. If you look, I pretty much get back to at least 80% of all the comments that have been left since the beginning of this channel, because I actually love the feedback. I like the back and forth, and I love reading things that sometimes don't even have much to do with your opinion. You just give me motivational words that are really cool to see, because I'm not doing this for the money. This is just a hobby at this point. I don't have enough viewers or subscribers to make any money. I don't make any money off this. This is something I'm doing, you know, while I still have a regular job that I work a lot of hours at, actually. And then I come home and I kind of just talk to the camera, and next thing you know, you guys are clicking and watching this video. So thank you very much. So let's get right into it. Let's dive right in. So when I was making the last video, I talked a little bit about what I see tactically and what I see that needs to be improved in our game. And what I noticed is I didn't really talk about a lot of with the ball type of things. So I want to talk a little bit about what I noticed when I watched the Brighton Hove Albion game, or some of the Liverpool game actually. And I want to talk about the middle of the pitch, because for me, the middle of the pitch is usually, not always, but usually where the game is won or lost. Just like the middle of a chessboard, you control the center of the pitch or the field, and then you expose the opponent's weaknesses. You look around, you find the weaknesses, and you expose it, and that's when a chance should be created. That's kind of what Gravenberch was doing to us in that Liverpool game. That's what one of the best teams of all time, Pep Barcelona team, used to do their opponents. They had Xavi and Iniesta and either Mascherano or Busquets in there, and they would control the middle of the field. The middle of the field is such an important place. Like if it was a battlefield, imagine you control the center of the field and you can move out from there. You have more options in front of you. You see more of the game. Whether down the sidelines, you can still win games down the sidelines. Don't get me wrong. That's why really, really good wingers are so expensive, right? Because they can pretty much, you can pass it out to the left wing or right wing, leave him in isolation with his defender, and make it so they have to defend him one-on-one, or at least, you know, if he happens to get double teamed, then you have other runners willing to come in and expose gaps. And then a really good winger can basically win a game almost by themselves, right? But that's not practical. Not every team can have that winger that's going to create every chance by himself. So the middle of the field is usually where a game is won or lost. What made the Barcelona team so special is because they protected the middle of that field and they never gave the ball away there. Xavi and Iniesta would never give the ball away there, and they were backed up by Mascherano or Busquets, who would also help protect, and also they were pretty good on the ball. And if they ever gave the ball away there, the team would be formed in such a way, or their positioning would be in such a way that they could attack right away and make sure that there are no gaps, rest defense, as they call it. They could attack right away and put pressure on the ball so that there are no gaps, so they can't get countered on so easily right up the middle. Now, the reason why we won the FA Cup final against Pep's Man City is because we controlled the middle of the field. That's when we started playing that 4-2-4, which is really more like a 4-2-2-2. And we started controlling the middle of the field. We basically looked at Man City and said, you guys can have the sideline, do whatever you want from there. If you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us down the sideline, but we are going to stop you from coming down the middle of the field. We're going to pack it in over there. We're going to stop you from coming down the center of the pitch. You might not like hearing this, but I think Man City would have probably beat us if they just allowed us to have the ball. If they saw our formation the way it is, and then they said, you know what, we're going to give them possession. Now, Pep is anti that, right? He's anti giving the opponent the possession of the ball. But actually, I think it would have been a great idea if Man City were to win. I think it would have been a great idea for Pep to go, oh, that's how you're going to play? Well, then we're going to give you the ball. Instead of putting in Doku and trying to see if Doku can go one-on-one with our defenders, which he could not that day, and see if he can create something on his own, which is what Pep's basic strategy was in the second half. If Pep would have said, you know what, let Man United have the ball, they will make a mistake down the middle of the field, and then we'll punish them as a counterattack, as opposed to us having the ball and they're in this perfect shape, just guarding the center of the field, forcing us down the sidelines. And that's where we're not good. That's where we get exposed. Actually, most of the goals that we concede, or most of the chances we concede, are because of our silly, stupid turnovers, especially in areas like that. Because even when we turn it over down the sideline, we turn it over down the sideline without enough people in the center of the pitch to protect from the opponent having their way in the center of the pitch. Now, is that a management problem? Is that a coaching issue, or is that a player issue? That's up to you to decide, because everybody's going to have an opinion here. I don't want to say that it's one or the other, because I don't believe that it could be one without the other. I think they go hand in hand. I think the players have to be smart enough to see these things and solve solutions better, but I also think players should not be giving away the ball in the middle of the fucking pitch. Sorry, I'm going to try to keep my cool. But this is why I get angry, because I watch a lot of YouTube videos that are so quick to point the finger at the manager or point the finger at the players. I don't like it when you point the finger at the manager so much, because as a coach myself, I can do everything right, and then the player can make a mistake that I'm like, how do you make that mistake? That is such a mistake you're not supposed to make. No matter what instruction I've given you as a coach, you don't make that pass in that area, in that circumstance. It comes down to player intelligence in the end. A coach can only do so much. Now, if the coach is sitting there and going, no matter what, I want you to pass it forward on your second touch or your first touch, no matter what, then yeah, that's a stupid coach that needs to lose his job. I just don't think that's what's happening here. I don't think that's what's happening here. And I think we even got new coaches in. So if you're telling me the new coaches are saying the same dumb thing the old coaches were doing, then why did we replace our coaches? I don't think that's what's happening. I think it's a lack of player intelligence. So again, is this a coaching issue? Yes. I'm not saying it's not. Yes, it is a coaching issue. But also no, because the players still have to make the decision in the end. Now, the coach should know what his player is capable of, what mistakes his player is capable of making, and he should be preparing that player to not make those mistakes. The coach should be sitting down with the player and going, hey man, sometimes you make dumbass decisions when you have the ball in this area, in this circumstance. When that stupid decision pops in your head, I need you to realize, wait a minute, oh no, that's not the right thing to do. That's what a coach should do. A coach should be teaching his players when they're being stupid, not just teaching them what to do, but also going, hey, by the way, usually you're really dumb when this circumstance starts to unfold. Stop being dumb, right? And here's how you realize what a situation looks like that you might make a bad decision in, and here's a decision you should make. So yes, it is a coaching problem, but also I don't know that that's not happening. For all I know, those discussions are taking place and the players are still making really bad mistakes. So we can't sit here and just blame the coach, because honestly, if we change this manager, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because a week ago when the international break first started, there were a lot of stories coming out that Ten Hag might get replaced. Ten Hag will be sacked before the end of Christmas or before Christmas. I don't know if that's happening. I just don't know if sacking the manager is going to solve our problems. Does that make sense? Now, you might not agree with me, and that's totally fine. You might think the manager is the biggest issue, and that's fine too. But just realize that the manager doesn't go out there and make the decisions. The manager didn't tell Casemiro to make that pass. I don't think he did. Now, if he did, if that's the instruction, then for sure the manager needs to be replaced. But then again, if the instruction was that, he wouldn't have benched Casemiro for the second half. But in that same breath, if the instruction is to get the ball forward and everyone's running forward, the guy closest, which was Mainu in that instance, should have checked back and offered support to Casemiro instead of running away from Casemiro. There's already 5 willing runners in front of you. There's 5 willing runners in front of you. The instruction can't be that everyone runs forward and this guy stays isolated to make a pass. Casemiro is not Kevin De Bruyne. I can't believe that our coaches are sitting there and giving an instruction and saying, when Casemiro has the ball, I want you all to run forward as if he's Pirlo and he can send the ball anywhere he wants. It can't be true. It can't be true. Somebody's got to be checking back and offering support. And especially, Mainu's supposed to be his midfield partner. And even Mainu's running forward. I don't know. Maybe that is the instruction, so I don't want to blame the kid. But I do want to say that we need a little bit smarter players, because in the old days, players would ignore instructions that don't feel right in the moment. I think it was an FA Cup game, or maybe even final, or it might have been a UEFA, like a Europa League game. I don't remember. But Ander Herrera told Mkhitaryan during, I think it was a corner kick, and Ander Herrera told Mkhitaryan to go play in the middle of the pitch, and he went in the box instead, where it's supposed to be the other way around. And the corner kick comes in, and Herrera ends up being the person who scores the goal. Now, Herrera's assignment was to sit in the middle of the field. I don't know if you guys remember this. This is during the Jose Mourinho days. And Jose, after the game, did an interview and said that he asked Ander why he did that. Because the instruction was that Ander's going to be in the midfield and Mkhitaryan's going to be in the box. No, sorry. The other way around. Mkhitaryan was supposed to be in the middle of the field and Ander's supposed to be in the box. And Ander had Mkhitaryan switch, and Mkhitaryan's the one who scored the goal. That's the story. Mkhitaryan's the ones that scored the goal. Ander's outside the box in the middle of the field. And Jose asked Ander, why did you do that? Because he's the taller player. Jose wants the taller player in the box. He wants Mkhitaryan in the middle of the field. Ander's response was, because Mkhitaryan already had a yellow card that game, so he couldn't take a yellow for the team if there was a counter on. So he asked him to switch, and Ander, sacrificing himself or taking himself out of the box and going to the middle of the field, was there without a yellow card, ready just in case there's a reason to take a yellow card to stop a counterattack. And then Mkhitaryan ends up scoring a goal and winning the game for us. You guys remember that? If you don't remember that, look it up. That's a true story. That's a player who didn't do what the manager asked and ended up making the right decision. And then the manager actually praised him and said, like, that was a great decision. You got to solve problems for yourself sometimes when you're out there. You can't call a timeout and talk to your manager about, like, hey, well, what's going on here? Like, they're not doing what we thought they would do. How do we solve this problem? You have to be smart enough to go, oh, wait a minute. Like, we got to solve this issue. There's a problem here. We have to solve it. Anyway, bottom line is I just don't think that ETH and our coaching staff want to play this counter-attacking football that's like uncontrollable, chaotic, back and forth, back and forth. Erik ten Hag did say that we want to be the most dangerous team in transition in the world, the best transitional team in the world, something like that. And that's all great. And I'm sure he meant it. And I love that. That's great. But the best transitional team in the world doesn't just aimlessly pass balls up front and have everybody run forward and not cover their own ass, right? So I'm sure that's not the instruction unless we actually have incompetent coaches. If you agree with me, by the way, let me know in the comments below. And I've probably gone on too long about this, so let's move on to the next subject that I want to talk about. The next subject is squad building. So squad building takes two types of people. Someone who is basically the squad builder, hopefully the technical director would do that, and Dan Ashworth, whatever you want to call him. So Wilcox and Ashworth probably. And then the other one is the talent identification guy, which is basically scouts. So the squad builder, the technical director, Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox need to sit down and decide, okay, if this is the kind of football we're going to play, what profiles are on our squad right now that actually don't lend a helping hand to the kind of football we want to play, which means what needs do we have to bring in? What kind of profile players we need to have begin? And then the scouts need to go identify those players, right? So they just tell them, like, here's the profile, go get us the player, and they bring a list of players and say, here are players who fit those profiles, and then the big guys start negotiating deals to bring them in. And you can tell that they're already, well, at least the stories are that we're already planning for next January and we're planning for the summer. So it's obvious that there are glaring gaps to these guys in charge that were not filled this last summer, which I want you to know this because I need you guys to understand how Ineos is operating or moving forward. Again, their main goal is, yes, to challenge, but that's not the number one priority. The number one priority is to turn the financials around. That if that wasn't obvious to you by now, then something's wrong. You're closing your eyes. You're not reading. You're not hearing. You're not paying attention. The first thing they did when they got in was cut down expenses by a ton. They let a lot of people go. They stopped doing things that they considered expenditures they don't need to make. And they cut expenses like crazy because they wanted to be more profitable. It's not because like, oh, we needed more PSR cap. No, that's bullshit. Without cutting those expenses, we were still able to buy the players we bought in this summer. So it's not like cutting those expenses helped them buy these players. Now, did it make more cash available for them to buy players? Maybe, but it wasn't a PSR thing. That's I don't want to take money out of my pocket and put it in the company thing, which is obviously never going to happen with the partnership and the owners in the way it is. Like with the Glazers also involved and Ineos involved, it's probably never going to happen. Let's not even talk about that because it's going to piss me off. It's going to piss you off. So let's just move on. So their deal was to make this company profitable, make Manchester United profitable, more revenue, less expenses. That's why I believe they didn't address all the positions that we needed addressing. I believe they went into this summer going, what can we do to challenge for top four? Not even guarantee top four. I'm sorry. I don't think they addressed all the needs they needed to address to guarantee top four. And one of the biggest clues we have is that they were hung up on one midfielder and one midfielder only, and that was Ugarte. And before that, it was Joao Neves. And as soon as they knew he was 15 million more than Ugarte, they pulled out. And then it was Ugarte, and then they waited till the last freaking day of the window to sign Ugarte, costing us at least one game. I think probably 2 games. He could have probably helped us against Hull Brighton. And maybe we wouldn't have lost that game. So an ownership that's main goal is to qualify for the Champions League would not delay signing an important piece like that in the midfield, especially because they have these smart guys like Wilcox and Ashworth and other, people who know football that could have easily identified that is a big need. That is a problem for us. And also, we are resting our other midfield position in the hands of a teenager. Now, I know we all love Kobe Mainoo, and we do. He's great. He's an exceptional talent. But he shouldn't have all this weight on his shoulders to be the guy. He should be the guy learning from the guy so that he could be the guy in a year or two. Right now, we're asking him to be the guy, like right now. And I don't know how I feel about that, guys. I don't know how I feel about that. He's got no one really to learn off of the kind of football he needs to be playing. He can't learn from Bruno because he's not going to play like Bruno. So that worries me. Now, what I can say, and what I will talk about because I think about this all the time, that I am waiting by Christmas of this year to hear a big story about Berrada or us. I don't care if it's Berrada or not, but I know it's Berrada behind the scenes if this happens. That Berrada secured more revenue for us, more sponsorship dollars. This is why we got the man. He's our CEO because the guy is supposed to be this marketing genius, the guy who helped Barcelona raise their revenues, the guy who helped Manchester City figure out ways to legally raise their revenues. Yeah, I said it. Berrada needs to impress us and show us that he's worth all this hype. that Berrada's now, we controlled expenses. That's the first thing you do when you take over a company. You control expenses. The second thing you do is you find ways to raise revenue. So now we're in that phase. At least I hope we are. We need to be in the phase of finding ways to raise revenue. So by this Christmas or by January, I want to hear about new deals. I want to hear about new sponsorship deals. I want to hear about Berrada doing this crazy deal and bringing in a bunch more money than we ever brought in. That's what I'm looking out for. That's what I want to see. That's what I'm hoping to hear. That's going to prove to me that Berrada is actually worth all that hype that we talked about. Or else what's he here for? He's not a sporting director. He's here to make us financially healthy. Healthier than we've ever been. And then, while still maintaining profit, we can go next summer and buy more and fill in all the gaps. And then I'll tell you that, okay, now this team is built to finish top 4. And then hopefully the summer after that, the team will be built to challenge for titles. That's really how I think the timeline's going to go. And until we get smarter players, better players, I'm not expecting this team to make this manager shine. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think we'll finish in the top 4 this season. It really depends on Ugarte's impact. Ugarte's impact is so important. The reason why those 2 slots are still blank is because I would need to see Ugarte play for us with our shirt on before I decide who my next pick is going to be. And then I open up the 3rd pick for your voting. I need to see Ugarte's impact before I say I'm putting Ugarte up there. Now, I know I didn't do that for Lenny Yoro, but Lenny Yoro to me is definitely going to work out. Like, I am 100% convinced that Lenny Yoro is going to be a phenom, amazing player. Maybe not this season, but definitely in the next 3 seasons, he's going to stake his claim and he's going to be our starting center back and he's going to be pretty damn good. Ugarte, I was a Joao Neves guy. I want a Joao Neves because I think we need a destroyer, but we also need someone who can distribute, not just pass backwards and sideways. We'll find out. Maybe we don't. Maybe we don't need that. Maybe we just need a destroyer who's safe with the ball and passes backwards and sideways and everybody else does the job. I don't know. This next weekend, I believe Ugarte will start. If he doesn't start, then I'm with you. I'll be angry at Ten Hag because I just saw him start for Uruguay, and he did okay. He did what he does. Got a lot of tackles and passed it sideways and backwards. So we'll see how he does, and then I'll decide if I'm going to throw him up there. My other pick, I'm not going to let you know. If Ugarte doesn't get thrown up there, I have another pick to go up there. Guys, I will get to you after our next game. I'll make another video. We'll talk again. But guys, you guys do me a favor. Leave some comments below. Let me know your ideas. I love feeding off your ideas. Your ideas give me the ideas of what I'm going to talk about in my next videos, man. So those things you guys say in those comments are what get my brain going. It's what makes me grab a notebook like this and start taking notes. This was 3 pages of notes of things I want to talk about. Now, guess what? I don't get to all these notes. I just made a video right now. I don't know. It says it's like 20 minutes long, unedited. And by the time I put all this together, believe me, there's a lot of stuff in this notes that I didn't even get to say. And so a lot of this stuff in the notes come from your comments, guys. So thank you for your support. Thank you for hitting the like and subscribe. Thank you for being with me. I will see you soon after the next game. I'll make a video and talk about it. Hopefully it'll be a happy video, not a sad video. And hopefully, if it's a happy video, hopefully I'll have that printed photo of who I've chosen next up there. And then we'll talk about your pick. Thank you, guys. See ya.